Good morning, friends. It's Miss Dennis. Just to continue reading books about the farm, today we're going to read a book called The Trusty Tractor, written by one of my favorite authors, Joy Cowley. The Trusty Tractor. That is one old tractor. You know, one of the things that I found out the other day is if you guys wanted to go to the barnyard, they will let you learn how to drive a tractor. I think that would be pretty cool. When Mr. Hill saw Grandpappy's tractor, he laughed. He laughed fit to bust his britches. He cried, slapping his knees. You call that a tractor? Micah looked up at Grandpappy to see what he was thinking, but Grandpappy was not letting on. Mr. Hill ding-donged with his knuckles on this rusty engine cover and the spaghetti can that hung over the exhaust pipe. He kicked the old cracked tires. This won't last another season, he said. Do yourself a favor, sir. Come on down to Hill's Tractor Sales and look at some new machines. Wrong way. I'm trying to turn it so that you guys can see the pictures while I read the words. Micah leaned against Grandpappy's leg, but Grandpappy just scratched his neck and said, I don't know, Mr. Hill. Me and this trusty tractor been together 50 years, ever since my old plow horse died. We know each other real good. I'm not hankering to go looking for a shiny new tractor. No harm in looking, said Mr. Hill. Micah tugged a handful of Grandpappy's overalls. Please, please. Grandpappy looked down and smiled. Well, now, maybe just a peek wouldn't hurt that much. You won't regret it, sir, said Mr. Hill, shaking Grandpappy's hand up and down like a pump handle. So Mr. Hill's trying to get Grandpappy to buy a new tractor. Hill's Tractor Sales covered half a block. Micah had never seen so many tractors all in one place. There were big ones, small ones, red ones, yellow ones, and some with plows, some with buckets, some with forks, and some with diggers. Mr. Hill showed Grandpappy a big red tractor with a cab like a truck. Got carpet in there, said Mr. Hill. Got heating and air conditioning? Mine's got air conditioning too, said Grandpappy. When the air gets too fresh, I put on another jacket. Look, said Mr. Hill. Stereo music. I whistle, Grandpappy said. Mr. Hill showed him the big fancy-dancy engine, but Grandpappy was not interested. He said, when my old tractor won't go, I fix it myself with a bit of wire. None of this electronic fiddle-faddle. Mr. Hill was not pleased with Grandpappy. Mr. Hill was not pleased that Grandpappy did not want one of his shiny new tractors. But Mr. Hill was not a man to give up easy. How much grass you reckon on sowing this spring for hay? He asked. 20 acres, Grandpappy said. Well, sir, I know that you are not a betting man, but I'll give you a jelly donut for every acre if your tractor gets through the season. If it doesn't, it will, said Grandpappy. If it doesn't, said Mr. Hill, you come back to Hill's Tractor Sales. That's all I ask. So old Mr. Hill, pointing at him, was trying to get him to buy a new tractor. Come early spring, when they were setting up for plowing, Micah said, You know, Grandpappy, this old tractor sure is sure hard to start." "Like me," said Grandpappy. "I'm hard to start when it's cold and damp." "Sure is rusty," Micah said. "I know how that feels. My knees got so much rust, some days they need an oil can." Then Grandpappy looked at Micah. "Boy, you aren't trying to sweet talk me into buying a new tractor." Micah quickly shook his head. "Good, because this is my old friend, and friends don't let each other down. You remember that." The ground was still cold when Grandpappy plowed those 20 acres. The tractor crawled along, chugga, 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 like an old fishing boat, brown waves curling up behind the plow. Seagulls followed, looking for bugs and worms. See, there's the plow part, right? This is the tractor part, and this is the plow. This is the part that actually breaks up the dirt. You see that? Plowing took most of 3 days. But when Grandpappy finished, the field was a strong brown sea with waves as straight as ruler lines. Grandpappy stuffed a sack of straw just because the seat cushion was worn out. "We got a long way to go yet," he said. The lumpy earth was smoothed out, and the steel blades of the harrows cut up the soil nice and fine, ready for sowing. And when they mean sowing, they don't mean like sewing clothes. They mean putting the seeds into the soil. That's called sowing the seeds. And sewing is not about clothes in this book. Then Micah helped Grandpappy with the seed drill. Grass seed went in the small hopper. Fertilizer went in the big one. Chugga, chugga, chugga. Micah hung on the fence and watched as the rusty old tractor pulled the seed drill round and round. Grass seed and grass food dropped into the little furrows. "Now it's up to Mother Earth," Grandpappy said. The sun shone, warm spring rain fell, and green leaves sprouted on the poplar trees. "Grandpappy, Grandpappy, come and see." Sure enough, the field was showing rows of new grass as fine and as soft as a baby's hair. The rest of spring came through at a gallop. There were tadpoles in the creek and birds' nests in the barn. The grass in the field grew tall and thick. Roses bloomed, strawberries ripened. Grandpappy dug his first crop of new potatoes. Now the grass was as high as the bib of Micah's overalls. Okay, the bib of his overalls is up here. It's the top of his overalls. That's the bib. Okay. Now I think I need to pull it this way. There we go. Mr. Hill paid a visit. "Good crop of hay," he said. "But I tell you plain and simple, no way is that tractor going to tow a hay baler. It just don't have the horsepower. Now is the time to think about a new model. What do you say?" Grandpappy gave a slow, soft smile. "I say I'm mighty partial to jelly doughnuts." The first run of fine weather, Grandpappy sharpened the blades of the old mower. Micah helped him bolt the mower onto the tractor. Chugga, chugga, chugga. As the tractor went by, the tall grass fell and lay flat on the ground. So what's he doing now? Can you tell? Let me see if I can. What's he doing now? He's cutting the grass, isn't he? He's cutting the hay. In a couple of days, said Grandpappy, we'll turn it with the hay rake to help it dry. The morning Grandpappy got out the baler, the weather forecast changed. Thunderstorms tomorrow, Grandpappy said. Wet hay is good for nothing hay. We've got to get ourselves cracking. What if the tractor breaks down? Grandpappy shrugged. We lose 20 acres of hay and 20 jelly donuts. Worse things have happened, but I'll tell you now, boy, real friends are there when you need them. And my old tractor won't break down. Do you see the storm clouds? It was getting ready to rain. So they had to cut the hay. They had to bale the hay, which means putting it in those squares before the rain came down. Well, they're baling hay in circles. You see that? They weren't doing the square hay, the square hay baler. They were doing the circle hay baler. Mr. Hill was partways right. The tractor was not big enough for the baler. But Grandpappy, he talked to it like it was his favorite horse. He called it old partner and whistled songs to it, and that rusty, trusty tractor shuddered across that field, dragging the big baling machine. Sweet-smelling grass got scooped up, rolled and tied, and spat out again in hay bales weighing 500 pounds. The rolls fell down with a thump that shook the earth under Micah's feet. I keep trying to show you a better picture of it, and I just can't seem to do it right. I think that's it. The storm broke that evening. Rain came out of the sky like water from a fire hose. But every bit of hay was wrapped in bales, snug and dry. Micah and Grandpappy wrapped the bales. Micah and Grandpappy were in the kitchen cooking up some corn chowder when the screen door rattled. They found Mr. Hill on the porch, as wet as a new caught catfish, and carrying a box of jelly donuts. I hereby declare you the winner, Mr. Hill said to Grandpappy. Though I don't know how you did it with your antique bucket of rust. Wang-a-dang, sir. You got more good luck than a hound dog in a butcher's shop. Mr. Hill said goodnight and went off into the rain. But before Grandpappy and Micah had gotten to taste the first donuts, the tractor man was back on the porch, wetter now than a heap of catfish, his feet dirty up to his knees. He wiped the water off of his face. Excuse me, seems like I've got a problem. My car, it's stuck in the mud. Micah looked at Grandpappy and waited. Grandpappy was real polite. No problem, Mr. Hill. Me and my grandson and my old tractor will get you out in no time at all. I am so not good at showing pictures when we're on the computer. And would you believe it? As cold and as damp as it was, That rusty, trusty old tractor started up on the first try. And there's the rusty, trusty old tractor. It had done exactly what they needed it to do. And it didn't look very pretty, but it kept working just like it was supposed to. I hope you guys enjoyed that book. I know it was kind of a long one, but I thought it was a good story. Have a great day, guys.